Hi, friends. Host Eric here. Questo de taquiendo de femiose de pigliogles. Y yo hablo español. In Spanish, that means I speak Spanish. I speak it like a native Spaniard. Should say perfectly. Oh, sure. Oh, hi, King Krishna Sarma Pagu. What's up is I'm live streaming. WhatsApp is a phone call application, I believe. Now, I was just talking about my glorious Espanol. I speak the Spanish of my forefathers who come from Spain and invented Spain about 45 years ago. Prior to which, it had been part of Portugal. And I said, hey, it's enough of that Portuguese. Let's make up a new language that I'm going to call Spanish. No, I don't speak any German, King Krishna Sarapku, except a couple of words. I know how to say that is forbidden. I know how to say the police. That's about it. I know how to say Stuttgart. Does Rachel speak Italian? No. You have jury duty, you lucky ham bone, you. I love jury duty. Jury duty is the best. It's your opportunity to be a good citizen and fuck the government. That's why God invented jury nullification. Of course, it depends what crime the person you're trying is accused of. But yeah, I believe in the value of jury duty. So, anywho, why aren't you here? Is a very important question. Yeah, this is live, Netblood 1811. As live as your mom's face. So, the question, why aren't you here, doesn't apply to anybody who's currently listening to the question. If you're hearing this question, that doesn't apply to you. If you're not hearing this question, why aren't you here? Why aren't you here where you can hear this question instead of wherever it is you are elsewhere? That makes no sense. I'm fielding questions from the viewing audience today, unlike usual. I'm going to be looking to the live chat and see what sort of questions people have. But note, you see the way that I answered Nedblood 1811's question right away? He asked, Nedblood 1811 wrote in and says, Dear host Eric, hey, is this live? And I wrote him back and I said, yeah, it is. Right now, you're living the dream. You're living the dream of being alive, and I'm here to hold your hand and shepherd you through the whole process. So if you have any questions, comments, complaints, concerns, queries, quandaries, qualifiers, or keywords, then please do allow those words offer referenced to be vocalized. Oh, beautiful day. Jim B., I want to say to you, have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. Okay? And you too. Have a blessed day. King Krishna Sarvagu, have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. Today, King Krishna Sarvagu chooses joy. My day is going Yeah. It was early in the day, 6:24 a.m. I woke up about 5 a.m. Are your dances and songs on TikTok? No. I've heard people mention TikTok on a few occasions now. Maybe I should look into it a little bit. But regarding my sort of, I guess you'd say, media invasion force, it really comprises just one platform, YouTube. Although I did post on Facebook yesterday for the first time in months. Rachel's sleeping. She's over there on the bed. That's how my day so far is going kind of. Rachel woke up in a fuzzy mood. And so, yeah, it doesn't usually happen. She's not feeling very well. She didn't sleep well last night. She, her lungs are kind of cash. She's smoking maybe too much weed or something. Buyer can't King Christmas summer. We're so disciplined about not hanging out here anymore. Thanks a lot for your discipline. Laura Payne knows better than that. She's not disciplined in that fashion. She likes to hang out here. Ned Led 1811, he likes to hang out here. King Christian Summer Purdue, I guess your life's gotten too important for us now. Look, I'm raising my eyebrow. You know what that means. Okay, so for those of you about to rock, we salute you. I want to let you know that. Anybody else have any questions? Please do voice them. You like trolling MBTI topologists? I mean typologists? Well, then, troll away, friend. I'm not really an MBTI typologist exactly, but I am a typologist. But, in general, I'm a correctologist. I like to say things that are correct about various things. Like, for example, I'm gonna smoke this bong rip. I'm a gonna Oh, wonderful day. Good morning, sun. Awaken me with thine rays. Good morning, clouds. Your white and fluffy natures, floating through the sky, bring joy unto my visage. Good morning, trees. Good morning, birds. Today, a new day, a blessed day bestowed upon us by the universe itself, that we might all sing and fly and chirp all our days long. Good morning, viewing audience. I've lost 2 people since I started saying good morning. I guess I should stop greeting people. Okay, fuck this. This guy's just talking out his ass. Well, I don't really have a whole lot to say right now. I lost through another person. Here's another one. They're dropping like flies. I do have something to say about what happened at the debate tournament the other day. So my kid lost in quarterfinals while I was judging finals of open public forum debate. And in the round that I judged as well, it was a split decision, a 3-judge panel. I was one of the judges on the panel. And the NAG team clearly won the round. Like, it was a bloodbath, frankly. And both the other judges in the round were lay judges, which means they didn't really know anything about debate or anything like that. They both voted for the AF team. So the NAG lost on a 2-1 split decision. And I was pissed because I have before, but it's been a long time since I've seen a decision that bad in debate. It's so just like appalling, at least that I've witnessed myself. So, and then I just walk out to discover something equivalent happened to my own kid. He lost in quarters to absolute bullshit with a judge who didn't vote, didn't give any RFDs, just said, I voted for the other person. He wouldn't give any explanation or anything. So it just goes to show you that it matters a lot. You get things right. The biggest problem with debate, competition flow debate, is a lack of qualified judges. Just that simple. And when you've got in a quarterfinal round of LD, a judge who doesn't understand debate, you are really, it's a fucking shame, is what it is. When you have a final round, you got a 3-judge panel in PM, you get 2 judges there who are that scrubby. Because here's the thing, the first judge, what she did was she tried to make a good decision. At least she listened to the round, and in the last speech, the NAG second speaker, basically kicked their framework. Said it doesn't matter which framework we debate we judge under. Go ahead, judge under the framework. It doesn't matter at all because we're going to win. They're almost all the same impacts that are going to be counted anyway, and we went under both frameworks clear as day. It's like they had made their framework too kicking basically, and he was right. They won under the other team's framework, so it didn't matter. And that woman, she's like, well, you said that their framework won, so I voted for them. Just like, oh my God, because she was like not a former debater or anything. She was an adult, but she was trying to be debate smart in some way, trying to be responsible as a judge, and ended up being irresponsible as a consequence. She didn't understand framework enough, obviously, to vote on it, because you don't vote on framework, right? You never vote on framework. You vote on framework, like I choose this framework over that framework, but then you vote under a framework. So she didn't quite get that, and shit happens. I'm not mad at her at all. She's made a mistake. The other guy, after I gave my decision, he starts going. The first thing he says after the first lady goes, she said, I voted out. I say, okay, it was a clear neg ballot here. This is why I explained. Then the guy goes, well, I don't know much about debate, but I bet you I know more than anybody else in this room about Stuxnet, which is an offensive cyber weapon that the United States developed and employed. And the topic was basically about whether or not the United States should continue to use offensive cyber weapons like that. So basically, he said all I needed to hear was that it saves American lives. And then proceeded to talk about Stuxnet and to teach everybody in the room about how important Stuxnet was. And as a RFD is a reason he voted for the AF. So, I was pissed. I got up sometime into his RFD. Walked out of the room. As I was walking out, I stopped and said, those are your arguments, not theirs, according to the AF team. And he said, I know. It's a fucking travesty. So, that's the kind of shit that happens sometimes in life. People are fucked up. That guy pissed me off because he clearly had no concept of what his purpose there was or what it meant to judge something objectively. But at least I am grateful that I was the third judge on that panel because I made it abundantly clear during the decision process where it's supposed to go a certain way. I I let it not go this way. The way it's supposed to go is two of the judges pass their ballots to the third judge, who figures out what the decision is, 2-1 in favor of Mia, and then announces it, and then each of the judges in turn get their RRT. That's not how this one went. This one went more suspenseful because, the lady next to me was earnestly and with all good intentions trying to be sort of the lead judge of the room, which is usually a lead judge who does the back and forth with the kids mostly, and who handles the other judges. So I was just going to sort of get out of her way and let her do her thing, whatever. She seemed to be excited to be judging, which is great. Thank you for judging, lady. We appreciate it, and you did your best. So anyway, but because I didn't really take over as lead judge, like I probably should have. She just started launching into her decision. It's like she just said, okay, well, I voted Mia, and she was like, so she went aft, I went neg with my RRT being like, explaining it was a very obvious thing about, basically it's kind of scolding her a little bit, but not knowing that I was scolding in advance the guy who had voted aft as well. I assumed he must have voted neg. It's like, there's no way two of these fuckers could vote out. Anyway, it was the finals of open public forum. We were supposed to have a 5-judge panel, but they were running low on judges. There's a systemic problem in debate is that the later in the day you get, the more important the rounds get, the fewer people you have there to pull from as judges. So it's an inherent problem in debate. And some tournaments, the more serious tournaments, will do a better job of this. But even then, you get issues. Like it was funny because last night I was on Facebook for the first time in quite a while, and I was reading. There's a high school LT group that I'm a member of on Facebook. It's great. I love that group. It's always got interesting things in it. Anyway, one of my former debaters, Big Edmund, who you may or may not remember is distinct from Little Edmund. They're big and little in terms of older and younger, not taller and smaller. Anyhow, he had written a debate meme, quote unquote, which is really just like a rant, which had somebody else shared on the LD group about how Alta had done judge press. Alta is a big name tournament. Alta is a TOC bid tournament. It has a lot of credibility in the tournament, but it also reveals some of the fissures in the debate community. So, for example, in policy debate, there are traditionalists that are progressivists. Progressivists in this sense doesn't mean progressive politics. It means progressive about how to debate. So traditionalists will be more stock issue-y, like the asked job is to sustain inherency, solvency, significance, harms, and topicality, and the neg can defeat the AF on any of those stocks. That's the old school way of debating. That the AF comes up with a plan in policy debate and defends it on basically 6 grounds. I said to 5, the shits, which is solvency, harms, inherency, topicality, and significance. But the 6th one is what in the old days was funding. So funding was part of an inherency, I guess. You had to come with a funding plan. Interestingly, the only kind of debate that still requires this to address funding is party, which is a form of debate that I've poo-pooed in the past. Regardless, I know this probably isn't the most interesting topic for everybody who's listening, but in the absence of any, prompting from the live chat, it's, I guess, what I have to talk about, Um, what's on my mind right now, because it's like three debate things happened in succession that that made me attend to this thing as an issue. They all happened in rapid succession, which is my kid lost him from what's said. I mean, I wasn't there, but my kid was 4-0 coming out of prelims. He won all his prelims. And whenever I talk to him about a round, he's always like, I don't know. Could have won, could have lost, even if he was a clear cut win. Even if it's super clear cut win, I don't know, it feels pretty good, but you never know. In this case, he couldn't articulate any arguments that the opponent made that were legitimate. That he's like, well, you argued this, but did you say this? Yeah, I read that card. I made that argument. So what did he say in response? He didn't have any response. Well, how the fuck does this woman vote for him? Let me answer Bron Solo's question. SI seems to be in charge of remembering names as remember faces as well. SI remembers impressions. Doesn't remember names. I don't think you have to pay attention via your introverted sensing willfully to remember things. So to the extent that introverted sensing is a function that is actively remembering specific things like names or faces, then I suppose that it's doing so on the machine code level. So that, for example, even polar SI people would not have problems remembering names in general. I mean, look, I need to hear it a few times. Yeah, sure, but I think that's simply because SI is experiential knowing. So if you're gleaning from your actual experiences, everything that can be known, you're going to pay a lot of attention to what intuitives might consider a banal detail, such as your name. Of course, if you've got FE higher in the stack as well, you're going to prioritize that for FE reasons. But so why exactly do I not necessarily do a good job of remembering either names or faces? For example, I've got Isaiah Reed in the mix, helping me out. We're going to have somebody tonight. Apparently, he paid me to type him. I've already typed him. I didn't even remember the guy until I still don't remember him. I just know what he is now. He's more important to me, I guess. Is it because I got shitty SI? Is it because I got shitty FE? I don't know. Is it both? It's related to those things, but it's like, for sure, if I spend a lot more of my attention having experiences and then re-going over those experiences, because it's important to remember that SI on a simple level is repetition. It's, for example, when I was growing up, my mom, she would repeat to herself the things she had to do during the day. And I'd hear her do it. She'd sort of mutter out loud. Okay, so after I get home from work, I need to quickly, on the way home, I need to stop by the beauty supply store, and then I've got to drop off this at the post office. I'll go home, I'll start dinner, and this is how she carry herself, her being through the day. And then sometimes when I'd be riding in the car with her after she'd gotten off work and after she picked me up from school or whatever, or picked me up from home, more likely, I usually most of the time had to go to and from school by myself. But then sometimes she'd be reliving conversations she'd had at work, and I'd hear her go, no, we can't do it that way. She sort of, lose attention to the fact that I was there in the moment with her and relive experiences. So in that regard, she was both attending to logistics and she was reliving experiences. And SI is repetition in the sense that it has to do a lot with words, as well, because she's repeating those words to herself. She's saying them again and again. She's repeating and re-imprinting on the metaphysical plane the same words or similar words about a given area of attention. If you're trying to remember a phone number or something, you go 617-422-9242. 617-422-9242. 617-422-9422. Something like that, And if you do some sort of little song about it, how you remember it. Well, that's linking in extroverted intuition and introverted sensing together in their most natural way. The extroverted intuition, introverted sensing axis is the axis of practice, the axis of getting better at stuff. Whereas NI is very different kind of knowledge. Yeah. It's known as I have not NI light. It's NI is very different because it relies on knowing things as distinct entities, whether they are objects in space, whether they are people or systems or media or whatever. They know the thing about okay, let me go back to this. The difference between SI and NI starts with the difference between object permanence and shape constancy. NI is shape constancy. What that means is when you look at this from this angle, you know it's a lighter because it looks like a lighter. But you still know it's a lighter when you look at it from this angle. And this angle. And this angle. And this angle even. Now this, if I were to really just show you just this part, you might have trouble guessing what it is, I guess. But the point is, shape constancy is all about recognizing that the identity of an entity, which is to say a named object, is constant, external to you, no matter what your perspective on the thing. So NIFE sometimes, for example, mistakes an individual for having shape constancy, and their ontology for having shape constancy. I remember Opala used to say that everybody was just a pattern moving through time, and that depending on which moment you looked at it, they might look like this angle or this angle or this angle, but they were still the same entity. Whereas any SI views identity somewhat differently. I see it as something that I'm in an ongoing build. An NISE person is more likely to say an individual's job is to find who they are and then do that. Do you. You are something determinate. To the extent that you're deviating from that singular whole of the self, then that's to be avoided. Whereas the NESI type is much more like, I am building whoever it is I am. I'll discover who it is I am as I build it. And there are constants, values, etc., that are constant. Like, for example, there are universal values that I always try to uphold to the best of my ability, although I sometimes fail. And those are going to look the same as an NI person's values a lot of times. But fundamentally, I see myself as responsible for myself and who I am, even though objectively I'm not. What do I mean by objectively I'm not? I mean, my personality is objectively the same as I was when I was in high school. There's a video of me, 18 years old. I didn't see it till after I was well into this YouTube channel, um, and have no real recollection of being interviewed or being made or anything. But it's pretty clear my personality is the same. Make the same kind of arguments, same kind of attitude, same kind of. I'm the same guy. So in that regard, that personality is, the aspect of the self that doesn't change over time, is in fact consistent with the NI understanding of a person, namely that they are a singular pattern that may look different at given moments of expression, but it nevertheless retains its synergistic whole and can't exceed or be less than either that synergistic whole. Well, remember, I like that John Ryan Baird, except I wouldn't say perceived juxtaposed against NI ideals. NI NI singularities are not necessarily ideals. They're they're collapsing to single things. Um, so the thing is, people who don't have very good NI, or who have it in, say, a countervalued position, will sometimes be very frustrated with people who have stronger NI because they dislike the lack of possibility. If you're somebody who's always like, well, that's just your opinion, or well, that's just according to them, everyone has their own, yeah, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder, you're a big relativist. NI is frustrating to you because they're telling you singular, and you go, no, particular is particular, particular. Uh, oh, right, thank you, that's what I was saying. So, as he perceives juxtaposed against NI singularity or something, um, NI archetypes, maybe. Well, so that does seem like definitely introverted intuition. A good example of me being introverted intuition ignoring happened yesterday when Rachel and I went out to lunch. She had mentioned to me something that she'd mentioned before, that she had found my channel by typing in Enneagram 784 or Enneagram type 7 famous people. She was looking for examples of Enneagram type 7s that were famous, I guess, And of course, it popped up that my Enneagram 784 video, she had already concluded she was 784 before watching that video. And we talked about it last night, and she's actually 748, I think, and I'm 784. But I think that somebody wrote out descriptions of the three variants within a given tritype. And I mean, I guess each of the 4 first, 7 first, 8 first, and I think that person wrote pretty good descriptions, but that they had them mixed up. The 784 is me. It's called what they call the originator, and the 748 is her, and what they call the curve surfer. But the thing is, they got it backwards. They put 784 as the curve surfer, and that description really seems to go under 748. And they got the originator under 748, and that description really seems to go under 784 to me, and Rachel, having talked about it last night. So anyway, regardless of that, the NI moment that I'd been ignoring, the first time she told me that story was, oh, wait a second. Anytime you go INFJ famous people, as a lot of people probably search, it probably directs to my channel. I had not realized that or thought about it until yesterday. That's NI ignoring. You gotta do some serious ignoring there. Oh my gosh, look, you guys, look who's back. It's Kinky Krishna Sarmapagu. She's Kinky Krishna Sarmapaguing us with her Paguish sermon. Paguish sermon. I was telling Rachel yesterday, or the day before, about a good name for a character. And the character's name would be Seeply Dentual. Seeply Dentual is the name, okay? Now, the reason it made me think about it is it's somewhat modeled after King Krishna Sarmapagu. Okay. Seeply Dentual. Seeply Dentual is a pretend Indian from India. So he calls himself Seeply Dentual. He talks like a stereotypical Indian from India. Now he doesn't look Indian from India, but he's so convincing in his acting Indian from India that nobody notices. And he calls himself Seeply Dentual until one day he's in the middle of some sort of thing. Oh, I smoke Marlboro Reds. Anyway, he's in the middle of some sort of presentation that involves his Indian from India heritage. And somebody stands up and goes, "Hey, did you just switch the first letters of deeply sensual?" And he's busted. He was never really Indian in the first place. He just thought it'd be funny to call himself Seeply Dentual. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. NI eureka moments may occur seconds, minutes, hours, or months later. So that's what it was. Exactly. That's true, overclocker. It can occur a long time from when you should see it. So SE is essentially a frame of mind, seeing the present moment as it is compared to NI singularity, goal-oriented, if you will. NE is a different frame of mind. It seems more innocent. The actual explanation is this. It's a good explanation. Is that SE is real time, NE is turn based. That explains it. And that's why it's confusing and difficult to talk about the SE NI thing. It's why NI physical is timing. It's physical world timing, throwing the ball so that when the receiver gets to that spot, the ball gets to that spot at the same time. That's NI SE timing. NI in the metaphysical sense, where it's most native, is the same sort of thing. What I mean by turn-based is, for example, regarding this question and this line of conversation, what do I mean by turn-based? Within you, there's a progressive understanding of various things that I'm saying as you engage with me with questions and stuff. So in this instance, you're saying, explain better this difference between time, different kinds of time that you referenced here. Well, what I mean by that is you'll decide based on these words that I provided you, you'll update your own set of words about this topic. And then sometime between now and next time I live stream, you'll have some additional questions about it, perhaps. And the reason it's turn-based is because it doesn't matter whether it's 1 day or 2 days between when I live stream last and when I live stream next. Your question can wait. And when I do live stream, you ask it, we just pick up right where we left off, as though there's no change, right? So the reason is because when you're dealing with things that are word-based, the words themselves aren't subject to time. My words or ideas don't expire when we're away from each other. And you can pick up where we left off, and you can reliably assume that it won't be like, turn-based, what are you talking about? That thing you just said, Eric, you're speaking Greek to me. You can reliably assume that's not going to happen. Now, in contrast, let's say you saw some squirrels at the park in a certain spot, and you want to show your friend. And you go, okay, squirrels, I'm no longer paying attention to you. So you're on stasis now. I'm going to go get my friend. Now I come back and turn my attention back to you, and you resume activity. That would be what it would like if real world were turn-based. But instead, when you return, the squirrels are gone. You know what I'm saying? How does one raise their SE? With love, nurturing, acceptance, with an authoritative but not authoritarian style. The only way you're going to get your SE to be healthy, well-adjusted as an adult is to nurture it with acceptance and love, but limits, authoritative limits, but not authoritarian. Just like that. That's how you raise your SE. Okay, so when I argue with people on YouTube about anime, that would be turn-based. Correct. That is turn-based. If you were actually having a fist fight with them in the street, that is real time. The thing is, experiential time occurs as we're engaging in turn-based time, obviously. To the extent that we're ignoring the experiential time, we're more intuitive, quote unquote. High intuition means head in the clouds, means you're not actually observing the external world, but rather just shit happening on the metaphysical external plane. So right now, we're all operating mostly on the metaphysical external plane. You're listening to me. I'm looking at these words and responding to them. So even when I'm talking right now, I'm still operating within IAG's last frame. I'm still saying, okay, everything I'm saying now is referencing that question there about the anime being turn-based and the arguing and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So anytime you're operating almost exclusively on the metaphysical external plane, you're dealing with a turn-based exchange between people, words. The thing about that is the more intuitive you are, the more interested you are in spending time on that external metaphysical plane. If you're intuitive and FE especially, but even if you're not, you may find that external physical plane very rewarding in terms of being able to access resources from it ideationally. I would say, so Sean Ryan Barron, I thought I had made it clear. That question was only getting a joke answer. Now, don't you go trying to actually answer that question. I would say raise your SE by setting goals and constantly maintain focus on being aware of how the present moment compares to your goals. Goals is a broad concept. That's too much TE. Instead of setting goals, I would say you raise your SE by checking shit out of the list. I'm not raising it. That's how you attend by SE, basically. Have a list, check shit off. Make it worthwhile checking shit off the list. Go, oh, you know what's cool? Right now I could get 3 things checked off this list if I hustle. And then you hustle and you get 3 things checked off. And you're like, right on. That's SE. Also, you know what? I just got to be ready to sort of fucking jump on this shit whenever it opens up here. I just got to be like, okay, which of these chicks looks down? Which of these chicks looks down? Here we go. Here we go. Boom. Laura. Hey there, baby. I'm just going to walk up to her. I'm just going to be like, hey, you want a beer? Fuck it. Yeah, nothing more complicated than that, right? You don't got to complicate shit with SE. What do you think about SE being the power struggle function, like in ground game opportunism sense? Well, as I just described, the thing is, it is opportunistic, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's conquistatory. That's a word. It just means, opportunism can also mean like let's say you're duck hunting. You're sort of sitting in a state of SE readiness, which is kind of an NI Zen kind of, still, quiet, but alert, attentive, not sleepy, you know, and a flicker of duck wing in the upper right-hand corner of your vision. You simply no hurry, quickly, but not hurried at all. You shoot, down goes the duck. That's the perceiving aspects of SE and I. I'm confused on how the perception function or action, specifically SE, if you're scanning the environment for opportunities that be consistent with perception, but how is it that consistent follow through? Okay, so that's kind of a mistake that people make about SE, and it's commonly said that SE is constantly scanning the environment for opportunities. It's the extroverted sensing function is obviously sensing the external world, but so is lots of shit. It's like you don't engage at all with the world except through your senses. So you could say, well, I don't understand how could it be that NE is an action function since you're not actually doing anything, you're just talking. And NE doesn't have a corollary scanning the environment for opportunities. It does. And this should hopefully clear this up. So when I'm going through the world, especially if I'm engaging with people, I'm constantly scanning the environment of the external metaphysical field for opportunities to tell jokes. If I'm in a certain mood, and if not, I'm scanning the environment for opportunities to respond to things like here. So until people started asking me questions and driving the conversation here, I was telling stories about debate because what did I scan the environment for? Things to talk about. What did I discover? Nothing. So what did I scan? What environment did I scan next? My internal metaphysical field, which comprised, stuff I'd been thinking about recently, SI, basically. And it was there that I found, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that debate round that I judged really made a horrible decision. And so then I started talking about that. Now, you might say, well, how is any action if it's scanning the environment? Well, see, that's the thing about acting. Acting requires a decision, or at least an expression. So it needs to, if I'm going to kick a ball, I need to be aware of where the ball is. And I need to go to the ball and then move my body a certain way to kick it. The SE part of the whole thing is indescribable beyond that. It's like relating the self to bodies, external objects is SE. Relating external objects to the self is SI. So, like, this is part of my SI. It's an object external to me, but it's part of my SI. It's not an SE thing. When I smoke this, I'm not sensing with SE. I am seeing the smoke. I am seeing the cherry burn. I am seeing whatever it is that I'm seeing outside to know that I'm smoking, but it's still not an extroverted sensing understanding of that because it's relating the external object to me, not the other way around. And if I'm SE, it's the other way around. So it's relating me to the external object. That is to say, it's attending to the external object as though it were outside of me. Whereas if it's SI is attending to the external object as though it were part of me. I treat my wallet and keys very differently than a rock and a stick. So say you're scanning the environment for opportunities with SE is incorrect. It's more correct simply to say you are relating the self to objects external to you. And when you encounter an object that relates to the self in such a way that it encourages you to agentially act upon the object, then you do so. Because after all, you're attending to the object outside of yourself as though it were outside of yourself. Now, Brittany, that's a good joke. That right there is a good joke. I like that joke. I treat my keys differently than my pancreas, much more carefully. That's a funny joke, you know? Good job. SE is the capacity to pick up on the vibration of objects. It can be the tuning into the frequency of a cloud or a blue sky and its points related to depth and density, etc. Where intuition would take the extrapolation of the vibrancy points of the cloud and some abstract identification of the cloud. That is an example of intuition, is seeing images in clouds. But I think it's an example of basically machine code level intuition. Just as I was saying about what else? Machine code SI, like remembering somebody's name. Machine code intuition is seeing a face in a cloud. Because, it's like, yeah, it looks like, yeah. Here's a rock that basically is the shape of a human face. You're going to go like, hey, that looks like a face. That's the most basic level of intuition that there can be. Or another kind of basic level of intuition in eye intuition is you've got two holes. One shaped like a square, one shaped like a circle, cylinder. And the person picks up the block and goes, well, it obviously fits in this one. It fits in the correct hole. That's another kind of machine code level intuition. And children at a fairly small age are able to do that. Then it requires, of course, fine motor coordination to put it in the hole, but being able to tell which one goes into happens at a fairly young age. It's a complement. It's like the next stage of shape constancy. Shape constancy realizes that the shape doesn't change no matter which angle it's being shown to you at, and recognizing that things have fittedness with other things accordingly is like the next step of shape constancy, basically. So, good question. Around solo. Who acts like my stuff is theirs also, unless I explicitly say that's not yours? SE DOMs. SE DOMs are always testing my boundaries. I make a point to notice it. Well, right. I mean, the thing that happens if you're functioning like that, relating to things external to you as objects external to you that you can act upon, is you become very aware of the way that action impacts the world. So all you got to do in the world is set a precedent a lot of times. I just do something, you let me get away with it, and all of a sudden I've set a precedent. And that's now acceptable, right? It doesn't always work like that, though. If you're too repetitious with your actions, it's like you too much try to rely on that vector, then you'll get burned on it. So you got to kind of jump around. What ends up SE DOMs end up realizing is, as long as you keep kicking the anthill in different ways, people will continue to let you set various precedents, which may not maybe flimsy precedents. They may not survive much pressure on them, but nevertheless continue to expand the scope of your area of entitlement. People see that, so all these sort of things that people see as implicit to SE are really simply high likelihood correlates because of the way that the world responds to SE and other things like that. It's not really implicit to the extrovert sensing. It's implicit to the fact that when you're relying on action itself to attain outcomes, okay, so I as you last said, but acting upon things requires a decision. Now, so does that mean I should get rid of the notion that you need a judging function to make a decision, or how does that work? No, you definitely do need a judging function to make a decision. The thing is, extrovert sensing with TI is like understanding the logic, the physical logics of conditional physical systems. One example of a conditional physical system is a quarterback going through his reads. He's got to make NISE knowledge decisions regarding his physical shit. And he's got to make TISE decisions regarding his decision making. So the TI part is going, check option one. If the corner on option one, cornerback, is on the outside of option one, on the inside part of option one, towards the center of the field, then go ahead and throw it to option one, because you know option one is going to be an out route. However, if the cornerback is on the outside of option one, then don't throw the ball because it'll be picked off. If you decide not to throw the ball on option one, you go to option two and you read that route. Okay, if the safety is up past this line here, then you know that's not a safe pass because man. That's an example of SETI. And the reason why the action function can work with the judging function TI there is because just as ENTPs are that fast with their TI in conversation like this and in debate and stuff, ESTPs are that fast with their TI and using it with SE. It is an expression of conditionality that the ESTP doesn't need to do durationlessly fast, like knowledge is. He needs to do faster than the development of the play in real time. So only certain types are going to be able to do that. ESPs, ISTPs, probably. They're going to be able to do that shit because they have the NISE they need to know instantly timing things. That you have to know instantly. You can't deliberate. Throw now. You have to know that with NI and SE working in conjunction with each other. However, you can't know in advance which receiver you're going to throw to. As anybody who's ever played Madden or NCAA football or whatever on one of those consoles knows, you cannot decide ahead of time which receiver you're going to throw to, or you will end up getting picked off pretty quick soon enough. You have to actually go through your reads. So I hope that explains it. Now, similarly, for an NETI person, I can't just rely on NE and TI, as was indicated earlier in this live stream when I didn't have any questions about cognitive function. Driving my extroverted intuition, introverted thinking, I relied on my introverted sensing. It provided me stuff that was already existent that I could talk about that didn't take new ideation, but rather recapping with something I already thought through. That's it shows you that NE relies on SI in the same way or in a similar way that SE relies on NI. SE relies on NI to provide timing, and they work in conjunction with each other. And the NE and SI relies on it being conjoined in that fashion. Example, right now, I'm recounting what had happened earlier to give an example of how NE and SI are linked together. And then, you can't exactly entirely separate them. Ned led 18-11. So a great quarterback with a strong arm whose main receiver is covered but sucks at progressing through the other receivers has SEFI. Yes, probably. I mean, look, if a quarterback is frequently trying to force a ball in or use his incredible touch to get it just exactly where the cornerback can't get it, even though the cornerback appears to have him covered, then that seems like an ESFP. Of course, sometimes ESPs have to do that too. And obviously, somebody who's an ESFP, if I'm right about their if I'm right about SETI, then probably they're not going to end up playing quarterback, because let's say instead they're playing receiver. The TE on that is much more straightforward. It's you practice your routes, you learn how to do them, and you do them the same way every time. And it's like that's something that I just typed Colin Kaepernick the ESFP. Okay. I mean, I disagree. I think sensors are forced to do it in the same way. I'm watching my dad struggle with it. It's like he keeps going back and forth as to whether he and my mom are going to go to Hawaii with me and Rachel. And it sounds like now Delilah and her boyfriend. And yesterday he was, last night it's like, oh, we can't do this. No way. No. And the day before it's like, you know what? We can do this. It's going to work. The day before that, no. The day before that, we can do it. He's being forced by circumstances to draw an intuitive conclusion, an NI conclusion, a single final conclusion about whether or not we should take mom with us to Hawaii in February. But he's an experiential knower. That's a tool function. So what does he keep looking to give himself that answer? His experience, his recent experience. And so he just vacillates back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he comes in, presents every waffling as though it were his arrival at the NI finality. So yeah, it's absolutely true that sensors have to intuit too, and it's challenging for them. I also have to sense, and it's challenging for Rachel and me to sense. Rachel's not feeling very great this morning. She didn't sleep much last night. She washed her hair before bed, and I guess that's the challenge. It takes a long time for her hair to dry, and so it was bugging her. She some kind of ashy bone rash last night, and kind of cashed her lungs, and she's feeling like she might get bronchitis or something. So, it's like she's really fuzzy because she's dealing with this sensing stuff. Yeah, and when you got to deal with sensing stuff, or introverted sensing is compelling itself upon her, it's like function. She doesn't like to have it compelled upon her. It triggers that FI, and then she starts getting like, yeah, a little yeah, like that. But I get it. I don't even. It's I don't take any bait. She's not even exactly trying to bait me. She's just like, her NI doesn't know what to do with the SI pushing itself upon it. So how does your NI differ from an IHP? Says for IHP's NI is instrumental. Well, I mean, it's how does it differ? Put it this way. It's very clear to me how an IHP's TI is better than mine. I can see it in the testing. I can see it by testing it directly. And it's easy to explain. My extrovert intuition is better than theirs because it's more nuanced. Not because it's more powerful. TI doesn't have nuance, really. It has speed and power. IHPs have incredibly fast and powerful TI. And they've got a fast and powerful extroverted intuition. Whereas I've got nuanced extroverted intuition and reasonably fast and powerful TI. In terms of the aspects of the functions that are visible, that's to say, the way that any TI plays out on the extroverted metaphysical plane, IHPs are stronger. They're more powerful, but they're also a lot less likely to use that power for anything. They don't like to make mistakes. And so it's difficult for an INTP to have a tool function that requires an environment that's mistake tolerant, and yet they themselves are not mistake tolerant of themselves because they've got that weird relationship with SI and NI. They can see objectively, universally how something plays, and it's very important to them that their experiences are ones that, I mean, it's like their collected experience, their collected roll of stuff they've done and been and stuff in life that match up with something that they envision for themselves. And so it's a challenging equation for an INTP to both be on the extroverted plane, most strong in both extroverted intuition and introverted thinking in a way, but being so hesitant to display that power. That's the best answer I can give. So the question is, how does differing IQ levels affect functions? Well, okay, like my dad is a very high IQ ESTJ. I would guess. I don't know if you've ever taken an IQ test. My mom is likely a high IQ ISFJ, which means among ISFJs, her IQ is high. Now, was before she got dementia. So I will also say that I was with a fairly low IQ ISFJ recently. And the difference is it doesn't affect functions per se, but they display differently. Like, both my mom and Kimberly like period dramas. That is to say, actors dressed up in English livery kind of shit going, "Milady," like that kind of stuff, right? Both my mom and Kimberly like that shit a lot. The difference is basically my mom mostly read books and only watched a little bit of that stuff. And my mom valued a lot more than Kimberly ever did the work product of intuitives. Same with my dad. They didn't know that's what they were valuing, but they both read shit tons of books. And my dad talks about certain kinds of subjects. He talks about the impeachment process. He talks about more, a lot of government politics stuff, but also philosophy stuff and critique of media pundits and stuff. Never in terms of NI though, or almost never, very, very rarely. So it's interesting. Now, like I would say that I've known some very conventionally intelligent INFJs, some that seem to be quite, high IQ, and I've also known a couple of INFJs who don't especially seem to be high IQ. The thing is, it doesn't really matter for an INFJ because they're using introverted intuition most of the time anyway. It doesn't require deliberative speed. IQ is mostly about speed of either deliberation or ordinal solvencies. So deliberative or ordinal solvencies. Okay. Yeah, INTP is also a better deliberator because they consider FI as well. One of the interesting things about the difference between INTPs and ENTPs is that they may share all the same functions, but ENTPs are like inside out IHP. They're doing the same sort of shit, but it's all spilled out in front of everybody. Whereas with INTPs, because their SI is stronger, they're retaining that shit and can process it all internally. I just lose track of everything instantly if I try to process too much internally. It just all gets into a big mush. I can't really feel as though I processed anything at all, frankly, until I've externalized it, especially into a medium that is retained like this one. But failing that, at least talking to somebody about it. If I talk to Rachel about it, though, I'll notice that I'll eventually come back to talk about it here, because until I do that and it's public and locked down into a semi-permanent form of a video, I feel as though it's not real. It's not real. It's fake. It's just out in the ether. It's like whatever information that the reality retains about that event, if I didn't record it or publish it, is just quantum. According to quantum physics, all events leave some sort of residue of information behind, but it's just not recorded for me. I'm not like relieved or satisfied in a sense by knowing that, well, at least some residue of quantum information will forever be left behind until the end of the universe, at which point it'll be erased. That's not satisfying to me. I wanted to know that it's actual fully realized information that I myself could access again, or somebody else could access. If INTPs have an interesting calculus and never include the feelings in the calculus, is there any way for them to display an interesting calculus in time? We're not doing it across time, or so no matter attention is that to an individual. I mean, look, everybody has at least machine code level F5, which is to say, if you do something that dramatically hurts somebody's feelings, they will display that. They'll display anguish or anger or something. It's always conceivable with enough extrovert intuition action or extrovert sensing action to basically force somebody to respond. One of the things that I have to be honest about as an ENTP is I hate the idea of ever forcing anybody to do shit, right? Like with SE. And SE forcing would be like, either you meow 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 or I'm gonna meow meow meow. That's an SE forcing. Or well, you better meow by meow time or meow's gonna happen. That's an SE forcing. And NE forcing is basically just you not being able to ignore me for some reason. Like if somebody is an employee and I'm the boss and I brought them in to scold them into my office, they either have to basically leave the job or listen to me. That's an NE forcing and an SE forcing in a way, because the person actually can't not listen to me except by quitting the job or something. But what I'm always complaining about, and what I'm always insisting as a criteria for legitimacy, is that I be enabled and empowered to NE force people. I will, if you won't stand here and listen to me and respond to my words and be on point and face-to-face meow with me, then you are a coward, kind of thing. That's bullshit on my part. I know too much now is the problem. That's the fucking problem. I know too much now. I realize I can't just, I have to respect the fact that I've got too much of an advantage over just about everybody in terms of linguistic dispute stuff. So, what doesn't make sense? You can't have both, can you? Oh, well, the interested disinterested calculus. So, everybody has interests to some extent. Everybody has an interest in calculus to some extent. The question really is, how much does it occupy your attention, and in what role does it occupy your attention? When I say that Fi for a TI DOM is instrumental, no. Are you saying that INTPs attend to Fi and consciously use TI to detach? That doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, I agree that in general, it's a confusing notion to think of an automatic or autotomic attentional manner, because attention would seem to be willful observation. Oh, yeah, INTPs do not consciously use TI to detach, that's for sure. Detachment is an implicit value for them, that the capacity to objectively analyze something rather than subjectively analyze it is hugely significant to them. Because it's so significant, they have a fairly conscious understanding, if they have the metacognition in place, that there's additionally an interested calculus, that the role of which in making a complete calculus is significant. But it's definitely not a conscious decision to detach. If you have to consciously detach to make an objective calculus, you are not a front stack TI user. Maybe fourth slot. Even then, you default to an assumption that an objective disinterested calculus is desirable. You may be giving yourself too much credit a lot of times and think you're being objective and you're not. But certainly, you won't have an implicit dislike of or have to choose the value of disinterest. It's implicit to you, the value, either instrumentally or absolutely on the front stack. I think my TI virtually becomes Fi when I reach a final conclusion on something. Having feelings and including feelings in your calculus is different at Ken Krishna. IAG last year, right, but I also want to note this, that to the extent that you're doing a disinterested calculus, if you're attending to it, then you're probably not attending to any feelings that are exclusive of a disinterested calculus. It is difficult to conceive, for me anyway, of attending to both concurrently, both my feelings and the external. To me, a disinterested calculus happens whenever there's something external to me that needs to be calculated. Then it automatically defaults to disinterested calculus. I go, okay, well, what are the words here? What makes the most sense in response to that? But when you're absolutely sure of your TI conclusion, it becomes our Fi value, so it can change according to real-time TI calculations. It's not static, it's dynamic. Okay, well, interesting. I don't claim to have a very clear understanding of 8-slot Fi serving dominant TI. I think I have stuff to learn about that from INTPs and ISTPs, I guess. I'm not really super clear on it. I'm gonna smoke this cigarette now. Can you guys chat amongst yourselves briefly? I think she and Greg brought chocolate-covered cherries, or she may have brought the chocolate enrobed cherries instead. You'll have to ask her. I'll be right back. Fi is conflated with knowing what's right versus feeling deeply. I mean, I think Fi means knowing what's important. Fi polar Chris Chapman. Not what's right. It's important. Ow. Hi, friends, and thank you for your patience. I was not here because I was smoking and peeing outside. It took me rather a long time to pee. Adderall makes me clench my prostate. Okay, so um, I missed a lot of stuff here. I think FI is complete with no one's favors feeling deeply. Oh, having feelings is including feelings, and including feelings is having feelings, though. No, that's not true, first class. That's only true for feelers. Including feelings is definitely not part of having feelings. So, like when I'm judging a debate round, I have my feelings about which side is correct of a resolution, but I don't consider those at all. I may even have my feelings about which kids I like more, but I don't include that at all. So for sure, having feelings is not including feelings. Including feelings in the calculus is an FI thing. That's what it means to use FI. It's important to engage with FE. It has its own place in importance as FE displays become an FI value. FI can come from external and internal stimulus. It's contextual. So feelings arise from various things. I agree. Fairness sounds like FE. Correctness is more of TI. Fairness is the value of TI. Correctness is the engine of TI. Now, fairness may be also a value of FE, but it's more like it's FE is the TE of TI. So FE is the utilitarian approach to fairness and correctness. It says, okay, well, if everybody says it's fair, then if everybody feels satisfied, then it's fair. It doesn't matter if I might go, but that's not, Here's an example of fairness in FE that's incorrect. Okay. But because it's incorrect, TI might say it's not fair. When my car broke down, shortly after I bought it, I knew that I'd signed this thing saying I'm not getting any coverage for that. I don't have any automatic fix my car for free thing. And so I didn't even bother trying to contact the dealership and saying my car just broke down. I just bought it like 2 weeks ago. What the fuck? But Kimberly did because she's FE above TI. And you might say, well, because she viewed it as fairness rather than correctness. And you're right as a consequence. But what I would say is she accomplished an unfairness, frankly, because the fair thing was they shouldn't have had to pay for it. I agreed to that and everything. That was fair. No, it wasn't fair to them that they fixed my car for free. They didn't know. They were operating in good faith. They didn't know the car was going to break down, yada, yada, yada. So, so the point is, FE is about consensus and acceptableness to everybody. TI is about fairness and correctness. I had to go smoke. That's the correct answer to that question. We can be annoying also. I've annoyed my ISFJ dad a couple times just because of me correcting him and debating him. ISFJs don't like to debate. By fairness, do you mean not hurting anyone's feelings, even with a fair argument? Not hurting feelings is FE. Not hurting feelings is actually FI. FE doesn't hurt feelings unless that's what it wants to do. That's the goal of the FE. Social harmony is not even exactly a goal. It may be a value of FE, but the fact is, what I experience most from FE is people trying to position themselves as the expert in comments and stuff. Like, actually, you're wrong because of me. And the FE is about the posturing, and the fact that they're trying to sort of win a point by positioning the point as having already been won. That's an FE sort of a thing. And it's certainly not about feelings protection. Actual caring about other people's feelings is FI. Okay, yes, Nedled 1811. There are 16 types that are actual possible configurations of cognitive functions that are and the reason it can't be any others is the same reason that you can't have, a carburetor that just links to the windshield washer fluid container. The car won't run, The same reason you can't have a person that goes head, legs, then torso. So no, there are not any more than 16 types. DSP and his subtype system, those might be subtypes in his arbitrary taxonomy that's based purely on, I guess, what seems like good taxonomy divisions, or I don't know where he got it from, but regardless, any other 512 arbitrary taxonomical divisions should be just as valid. The only things that are not arbitrary taxonomical divisions, which are actually mechanical divisions of human beings into possible configurations of attentional channels, are the 16 types. That's it. There aren't any more than that. Now, if you want to draw distinctions between amongst a given type, like, okay, well, amongst ENTPs, there are meow, 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 then your best bet is probably to go with Enneagram and say, I'm an Enneagram type 7 ENTP, rather than an Enneagram type 4 ENTP, for example. FI is a slippery slope because sometimes we need sport to have the courage of trusting feelings, especially in an environment that negates emotional status. I mean, FI is important. I know it's important. Like, I see how important it is to me. I need to have moments of connection with Rachel where we're affirming each other, hugging each other, and displaying the fact that we're choosing each other and embracing that choice, on a regular basis. My FI, I don't trust FI very much at all. So it's like, I don't know what it means to say that Rachel loves me or doesn't love me. Really, it's like that's not anything I would ever put any weight on. So I do know that I have this, cigarette-like addiction to moments of communion with her. So asking me to talk about FI is confusing. Maybe not that you did ask me the other day, I'm not saying you did, but prompting me to think, but talk about FI ends up me being confused usually. It's time to feed my SI demon, so here it goes. SI demon, huh? I like CS Joseph. Okay, well, good. Like, that means he likes you. No, he's good. Okay, well, why do you think he's good, Sonic Mike? Would you agree that a TI fared cardio would include, if it breaks down the first week, we'll fix it? If that's what's agreed upon, if I go, I'm selling you this car, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm telling you the truth, it is in good running order, but I'm just a regular guy. I can't promise to fix it. If it breaks down in a couple weeks or a week or whatever, this is, as is. It's certainly fair to conceive of it being possible to sell a car to somebody as is and take on no further responsibility beyond that. If it had been me selling the car and I were telling the story about how the car I sold the guy was perfectly in order, and a week or two later it breaks down, he comes back, he wants me to spend $2,000 to fix it or something, you'd be like, of course you're not going to do that, dude. You didn't know anything. So yeah, I don't think that's true, Chris Chapman, what you're saying there. Would it go by order, or does context matter? I'm not sure what you're asking that about. I mean, look, when you're dealing with a car dealership, there's more of a reasonable expectation of that because it's their business. And they're presumably experts in knowing whether, a car needs some sort of maintenance or not. But even then, it should be possible for them to sell a car as is. They shouldn't be required to provide warranties for every car they sell. I might choose to buy a car that I know has problems because I want to fix it up. Isn't tri-type of an autist 641? Because autists are usually loyal, original, and perfection. I don't know what an autist is. Never heard that word before. George Morris. Maybe Google it. A pervasive developmental disorder of children characterized by impaired communication, excessive rigidity, and emotional detachment. Now considered one of the autism spectrum disorders. A tendency to view life in terms of one's own needs and desires. I don't know about this autist thing. I'm not sure that such things really exist. Many sociologists guys are right then typing CSJ as an ENFJ. He's positioning himself as an expert in creating a cult-like following. He also defined NE as basically FE and I. That's a nice observation, Resh. I wouldn't. I don't have any reason to disagree with the ENFJ precisely, and the thing that gives me trouble about the ESTJ analysis is the lack of SI referencing, really. I just see plenty of TE, but that you're going to see in an ENFJ too. ENFJ is certainly possible. I haven't really, I've gone with ESTJ for a while because it seemed like the best thing, but yeah. IHPs are most likely to be 5s, usually. MBTI Talk. I just started a new channel, MBTI Talk. I made a review of your channel and would like to interview you to ask about how did you cognitive flow, how did you function flow as cognitive function? You got first guess? Sure, MBTI Talk. Absolutely, I would. In about half an hour, I got to go get my mom up and put her in the shower and do some mom care shit. After that, I'll be available if you want to do that today. Sarah Bells. Sup, Eric. Sup, Sarah Bells. Not much, Sarah Bells. You should make a video talking about FI in every slot. I mean, shoving my FI into all of your holes. Is that what you're saying for a slot? You want me to shove my FI into your holes? You want me to cram it? Dolan, you look like a duck. FE is the gift that paves the way. Then TI delivers with a better chance of being received as an INFJ. I do this to help prevent being misunderstood. I don't care if they agree, but FE helps with defensiveness. It does help with defensiveness. Can you describe the difference in fifth slot TE, IHP versus ISTP? That's a tough question. It's a good question. You've got somewhat of a questionable name, Foreign Love 99. Probably try not to love porn 99th percentile. Try to love it a little bit lower percentile. Well, I guess I would say that INTP values more the I don't know. I have to think about that one. It's a good question, Porn 99. I asked that about TI correctness and fairness. Can the order of functions affect it, or does the scenario just matter? The order of functions affects it for sure. Like FE first, TI fourth is mostly about fairness theater. You could call FE fairness theater. Now, one thing I would note is a big difference in the way FE plays out and TI in terms of fairness is an ISFJ, to be fair, they want to trade what you want, then you get what you want, and ISFJ gets what they want. With INFJ, it's like you get what you want, I'll sacrifice something, you owe me an equivalent. And that's much more comfortable where ENTP is too. It's like I'm the same way. I don't want necessarily to be actually directly fair exactly what we want. I just need the fairness theater. Is it possible to change your personality type? No. Cool. MBTI talk. It was transplanted a new brain. Is the 8th slot cognitive function normally a weak function? So George Moore's sort of. It's sort of a weak function. Like, for example, let me explain. So let me tell you about last night. Rachel said to me at one point, I'm going to go take a shower. And I said, okay, cool. And then I said, hey, you're going to go take a shower? And she's like, hey, no, you can't change your personality type standing here. Bellow cow. Personality is defined as the aspect of self that remains the same throughout your life. So she said at some point, you know what? I don't think I'm going to take a shower. I don't even smell. I said, I'm sure you don't smell. You always smell good to me, but you might want to take a shower because it'll make you feel better. Like it'll relax you, loosen your muscles, make it easier for you to go to sleep. And she's like, yeah, this might be true. Okay. Like that's 8th slot SI. It didn't occur to her the physical aspect of SI there, just the metaphysical aspect. So she's like, she had determined at some point that one showers metaphysically because one smells or it's dirty, and had never really considered that there are other reasons to do that. Now, here's what actually happened though. So she went in and I said, maybe you feel like taking a bath instead of a shower. You never just take a bath. Just always looking at what's different, what might be different. So she did end up taking a bath. She's like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I will. And then when I came back later, she was taking a bath. Now she ended up washing her hair in the bath. And then she came out here to go to bed, and she had a lot of trouble sleeping last night. It was fussy because her hair was wet and her head was kind of cold when she was at night sleeping, even though we have a heater on here, and yada yada. So it's quite possible that her NI was going. There's a reason not to take a shower tonight, but because she's SI so unconscious, she couldn't conceive of what it was. Or it could be just that it was a good idea for her to take a bath and shower for the reason I articulated, but she needed to not wash her hair, and she didn't really think about that. And the thing is, she's thought about that hair thing before because I've heard her mention it before, that she doesn't like to go to bed with wet hair. It doesn't dry right away, just like that. So, I mean, that's an example of 8th slot SI. It's kind of half-assed. And she gets fussy mostly when she has SI issues. When SI pushes itself upon her attention, she's got to be known by her experience rather than universality. Then she gets fussy. That's easy to deal with. I get it. I get fussy with that kind of stuff too. I get hangry. I get slangry. I get thangry. That's hungry, thirsty, and sleepy. Can ENFP's FISI loop, or is that just an INFP thing? Well, Sarah Bones, I'm not a big believer in looping, really. I do recognize that sometimes it happens. Like, for example, if I have a very awkward exchange in some social situation, I might, depending on the nature of the situation, the degree of awkwardness, might remember, relive, and re-cringe about that multiple times. If I'm stuck in that space for a stretch of time that's contiguous, then that could be called a loop. So I was kind of in an FI loop for a week or so when my dog died. When I was in mourning, FISI loop. I kept remembering my dog, remembering again and again that my dog was dead, thinking about her dead body in the street, remembering the good times we had, and crying and being, and also switching over to mostly attending by SI, taking good care of myself, making sure it's comfortable, napping, all that kind of stuff. Having no extroverted intuition really flying at all during that week of mourning that I had for my dog. So was that an FISI loop? Not really. It was just I was sad my dog was dead, and I was wounded. I was licking my wounds. In that regard, I shifted to my relief function. My extroverted intuition failed so badly as the dominant function. It hadn't really, but of course, that's what it feels like when a dog dies. I think it's a troll, and they're taking a different approach. They're going to say the same question over and over again. It seems like a legitimate question, rather than making quite as immediately obvious that they're a troll. I'm pretty sure it is. For people whose names I haven't seen before, they come in with no picture on their circle. It's usually, a lot of times, it's a troll. So, I've already answered that question, obviously. It's been asked several times in a row. Probably trolling. Okay, Dolan, hey, it's fine when you said FE was gay. It's not okay when you say NE is gay. NE is totally straight. It's the most heterosexual of all the functions. Okay, everybody knows that, Dolan. Everybody knows that. Okay. FE and TE do approach the world very differently. And a good way to think about it is FE renders dynamic resources static. TE renders static resources dynamic. TWFP is not homophobic. Okay? I love, adore, worship, fondle, molest, and touch homosexuals all day long. Because, yeah, you made subtype videos that they'd be most popular. It's a lot of possible things I could be doing that would be more successful than what I am doing. And, but I don't know what to say. I just do what I do. Yeah. TFP is woke as hell. Progressive AF. The thing is, I am quite progressive in a lot of different ways. And to the extent that my progressiveness differs from political progressiveness, it's because political progressiveness needs to follow my lead. It's if I'm disagreeing with political progressiveness, it's not because I don't share the fundamental values of progressives, namely that human beings ought to be optimally enabled to actualize. Eric, could you say more about the stacks being willful versus reflexive? TWP sounds tired and bored. What are you talking about, Jean Grey? If you are an INTJ, that makes sense because your FE is failing you utterly and analyzing my current state of being. More like Dolan, that NE is incredibly yay. More about the stacks being willful and reflexive. So your most willful function is your tool function. It's the one that you can choose willfully to use or choose willfully to not use sometimes. It's difficult to imagine any other function that you can do that with. Now, of course, to say that you're choosing not to use it necessarily means you're choosing to prioritize something else. So I can prioritize either extroverted intuition with integrated sensing and extroverted feeling as I'm doing whenever I'm just making jokes. If I'm just going down the chat and making jokes, I'm not using TI very much, maybe a little bit if I'm making a TI style joke. But I love the word woke. It's so hilarious. You know, to the extent that anybody were to try to actually use it in anger against me, I would just be delighted. I would turn that shit. I'd turn that shit instantly. You are so correct. Being woke is the most important thing. And your lack of wokeness regarding my transracial identity is what is fundamentally ontologically assaultive here and appalling. You should be ashamed of yourself. Is FE inferior causing failure? If so, why is that so? Fail of failure. I don't know what that is. I think I got bored when I focused the conversation on SE earlier. I inhibited its any whimsy. Hey, my any whimsy is uncontainable. It's like a tidal wave of whimsy. Your puny inhibition techniques can't inhibit my whimsy. PC equals political correctness, I think. Intimate personal computer. I think that Dolan knew what you were talking about, Ken Christensen. I think my friend told me about this. He said, I use FE too much. I need to learn how to control it. It's hard to understand you, Eric, if you are not a native speaker. I could speak more clearly, it's true. And on that occasion, Eric realized that it was terribly, terribly important to constantly enunciate fear of failure. FE inferior causing fear of failure. I think it's a combination of third slot SI, if you're an INTP, with fourth slot FE. Namely, you don't want to put on your permanent internal record of self that you have failed. Like that, you see? I don't believe in fear of success. I believe in like what people call fear of success is really SE polar or SE eighth, maybe. There are certain things that I ought to do to succeed, but I don't do them. And somebody who's got, say, SE third, like an ENFJ or ENTJ, would diagnose that as fear of success. Not very reliable. They might diagnose it as fear of responsibility. How about I don't like responsibility? How about I don't feel like doing that shit? Maybe those explanations make a lot more sense than me fearing success or responsibility. How about I just don't like it? I don't like TE. TE can suck my dick. I hate TE. TE's fucking stupid. It's always like, no, you gotta do it this way. You gotta jump through these hoops. You gotta follow these rules. You gotta have these protocols. Fuck you, TE. You know, Go fuck yourself. I hate your rules. I hate your fucking goal orientation and your community, man. It's like, shove your community, man, community, man. Oh, yeah, tell me if you need music. I don't need music. Would you like me to include your music in something? I would be happy, or at least willing to do that, potentially, if it's good. Of course, then you got to be like, I got to give this music to Eric, and he's going to decide if it's good enough to put it on, which is scary for anybody who's a music maker. I do like the idea of making it to my personal computer as a song. If you want to send me either lyrics or the other part, I will collaborate with you on Intimate Personal Computer for sure. I think maybe we should just call it Intimate Computer, though. Intimate Computer. Colon. Wow! Exclamation point. Be a good title for the song. Intimate Computer, colon. Wow! I remember my father's last words. No, son, the gun is loaded. Best quote ever. You want to hear a joke? Everybody, I'll tell you a joke, okay? You're going to SE what you can do. So there's a call to 911. 911, what's your emergency? I just accidentally shot my friend here. We were hunting and accidentally shot him, and I think he might be dead. Okay, calm down, sir. Calm down. First thing, are you sure he's dead? Okay, hold on a second. Puts the phone down. 911 operator, here's another gunshot. Pow! Puts the phone. Okay, he's definitely dead now. Something like that. I don't remember the exact joke. Essie, Eric makes me feel better about your garbage, Essie. There's nothing wrong with your garbage, Essie. Okay? Whether you got Essie in the 4th slot, whether you got Essie in the 7th slot, whether you got Essie in the 8th slot. Those are really the only 3 slots, if you're watching this video, probably they're in. If you got Essie in one of those places, you know, and people are always going to be like, follow through, be responsible, do this shit, finish up these tasks. You go. Just like that. Fuck your SE. I don't fucking feel like it. Period. It's it. It's all you need to say in life. People need. But Eric, you've got to. Excuse me. Did you not hear me? I don't feel like it. That sounds not fun. But fuck off. You know what I'm saying? No. Do you know what I am saying? Is the question. TE is worse though, stupid TE, dumb fucks. Do it like this, do it like that. You should fuck up ESTJ. I agree. I got ESTJ dad being like that all the time. It's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. What are you complaining about this time? Do this, do that. I have a chair. I have a chair. In the I have a chair part, but fuck TE though. Yeah, I agree. Fuck TE, fuck SE. The only kind of extroversion that's really any good at all is extrovert intuition, but also extroverted feeling when it's directed at me. When you're like, ooh, you're so funny, Eric. Like, good. That's extroverted feeling properly used. I see. Well, that's okay. Remember, this is a mistake-tolerant environment. Thanks for FEing me, Jean Grey. We FE you too. Ken Chris and Chris Chapin. May I just say, I FE you. Okay? I FE both of you.
I FE poo.
Rachel FE's poo. Uh-oh, you crunched your nuts.
You did it on purpose. I know you did for the feeling.
Dolan, let me just tell you, I FE you. I do. I FE you a lot. Who else wants to be FE'd today? Who's getting FE'd? Sean.
You're getting FE and you're getting FE. Tis the season.
Sean, Brian Barron, I just want to tell you, I totally FE you.
It's just scary.
There. Do you feel FE'd now? Properly? Do you feel properly FE'd? Who else wants to be FE'd? Let's see. So George Morris, I just want to tell you, buddy, come here. Bring it in. Bring it in for a hug. Bring it in for a bro hug. So George Morris, I have always totally FE'd you. And I still do. I just want you to know that. I really FE a lot, you. Okay? Pretty cool, huh? We have something special going on. Something FE special. So George Morris. You and me. Ron Solo. Better seem sincere. I could not make it sincere. Are you kidding me, Ron Solo? You are so smart, so insightful, and I am just effing you so much.
FE users lie the most.
It's like, God, that Ron Solo, he's just like, God, I just want to FE him. He's so like FE, you know? He's just, I mean a lot of people, but Ron Solo is super, super FE. I really FE like that. It's good FE. It's like when I noticed the first time that Ron Solo's here, it's like, oh my FE. I think that's my scrotum tingling. Now the whole chat is horny. Maybe projecting a bit onto your fellow chat members there, Jean Grey. I would say FEing doesn't make me horny. FI does make me horny, actually. How Pipic? FE. FE, buddy. You know, you FE. I'm serious. Remember that FE? That was great. I gotta go. Gotta go inside, get my mom up for editing me out. That is to say, the day. I can't DE you like that, Dolan. I guess I could. Listen, Dolan, you're using your property wrong. You're not taking good enough care of it, okay? You need to wrap it up in cellophane before you put it back on the shelf. Do it right. God, if you don't have time to put it away right now, how will you ever have time to do it? Go back and fix it later. The end. Goodbye. I FE you all so much.